Why Georgi Mamardashvili joining Liverpool makes so much sense. It looks like it's going to be the first transfer of the Arne Slot era. And in this video, we're going to break down what the keeper brings to Liverpool on a longer term basis. Still very, very young for a keeper. And where it leaves the squad, particularly one of the greatest keepers the Premier League has ever seen, his future as well. Let's just start off with who Georgi Mamardashvili is. Obviously playing for Valencia, one of the biggest clubs in Spain. I think everyone's going to be talking about his record for Georgia. I think the best keeper performance at Euro 2024, getting them into the round of 16. I don't know if you watched the Spain game, but some of the saves he pulled off were absolutely outrageous. There were moments from the left from Williams where he was smashing them at him. He made so many strong saves. His wrist was strong. His kind of punching was strong. He has this element of physicality and dominance in the box. He was almost unplayable in that game. And that game was a lot tighter and a lot closer to Georgia causing an upset, which would have been great for me as an England fan, than possible because of Mamardashvili. He was the keeper of the tournament by a country mile. There's even that moment where Morata's 6 yards out smashes it at him and he makes an unbelievable Gordon Banks-esque save. So this keeper can perform at the highest level in international tournament for Georgia, where, with all due respect, they're not going to have much of the ball. They're going to get a lot of shots face them. And he was fantastic all tournament. Valencia is another one as well. He's played over 100 games for Valencia and he's kept 30-odd clean sheets. That's 1 in 3. It's a very, very good record. This isn't prime Valencia we're talking about, a decent Valencia side. So it makes a lot of sense. The overview of the transfer as well. 23-year-old keeper, which is so young in goalkeeping terms. It really, really is. For £29.9 million, a few add-ons in there as well. And of course, the interesting thing is that he's going to be loaned back to Valencia. That overview of the transfer makes so much sense for me. Firstly, the fee. £29 million for a keeper who, if you look at any list on any football website of the next exciting keepers to come through, there's a lad at Genk, you got Baznu at Southampton, who is injured until 2025. There aren't many keepers. Donnaruma's been around the block. He's still relatively young as well. But Mamardashvili always comes up in those lists as the next world-class keeper. On some level, the next Alisson Becker, because this guy, you know, including the beard, but he has the physicality of Alisson Becker. He has the athleticism of Alisson as well. And they're almost replacing him like for like. And they've shaved an extra 10 years off of his age because, you know, to get a 23-year-old keeper and replace your 32, 33-year-old keeper in that kind of fashion for £29 million, that is unbelievable business. We have to talk about Alisson Becker because it's very, very hard to replace a goalkeeper. Look at Van der Sar at Manchester United. When Van der Sar left, there was a hole there so big that I don't think Man United have really ever filled. I can't really think of a world-class keeper that was in between the sticks. I know people say De Gea, but not for me. I never thought he was world-class. Never thought he was an elite keeper that Man United needed. I know he had some great performances in seasons where they were a little bit flat and a little bit poor. But he was never world-class. He was never Peter Cech. And if Man United have taken, 13, 14, 15 years since Van der Sar retired from football to replace him, and maybe Onana's a little bit closer to that kind of quality of keeper, I would dispute that. Then Liverpool have to look at it and think, it's not easy replacing your keeper. If Ederson leaves Man City, I think Guardiola's got an equally big headache because I think Ortega's a fantastic keeper, but you lose that rhythm, you lose that structure. The big one has to be when Schmeichel left Manchester United and kind of joined Aston Villa, joined actually Man City later on in his career as well. The kind of replacements, Massimo Taibi, you got Barthez in there as well. There's a few shocking keepers. Tim Howard, who's a better keeper at Everton, but he was poor at Manchester United. So the whole in these kind of sides for these keepers can be massive and it can take a very, very long time. So for the transfer to kind of go ahead underneath Alisson while he's maybe figuring out a transfer away from the club, potentially retirement, I think that makes a lot of sense. Alisson is one of the best keepers in the history of the Premier League. For some people, the best. I think he's very close to Schmeichel. I think he's very close to Peter Cech in terms of the range of saves, the high quality, the world-class nature of how he's able to save shots. Then you add in the kind of modern distribution, that ping that you could get out to Andy Robertson high up onto the byline. Of course, Trent as well. He had this long distribution, Alisson. Very, very good. Not as good as Ederson, but his shot stopping, I think, is so much far better than Ederson's that it made him, for the last 5, 6, 7 years, and including this season, the best keeper in the Premier League, maybe the best keeper in Europe right now, still close to Courtois. And so this is one of the best keepers ever in the Premier League. And to lose him, potentially to a move to Saudi Arabia. Obviously, that deal happened, nearly happened last window, with Saudi Arabia coming in for him. He's got a deal to 2026, I think it was. He signed an extension 2021, something like that. So if Alisson Becker looks for a move next summer, I think he can bring a little bit of stability into the Arne Slot era. And then Mamardashvili, with a good time at Valencia, with this kind of his future secured, his future guaranteed, can come into the sticks and bring that change that maybe Arne Slot wants going forward. I think he's better with his feet than people give him credit for. I think he's probably known more as a kind of shot stopper. And Arne Slot, clearly after the Ipswich game, clearly after pre-season, and how Feyenoord have played traditionally as well, are going to be a side that want to play out from the back, and like most clubs do, basically all clubs do these days. I think he's good with his feet. We didn't see enough of it with Georgia, because I think Georgia wanted that kind of long ball over the top to obviously kind of release pressure and kind of get the ball up the pitch and get away from the opposition and kind of counter press, counter attack. I think he's got that inability as well. I think he's got that long-ranging pass. We saw it against Ipswich. We actually saw it with Alisson. We've seen it with when Konate came on, Trent, Robertson. That long ball was utilised a little bit more for Liverpool. I think Arne Slot will be looking for a keeper that's kind of got that in the locker as well. Might be fans out there questioning Kelleher, who's been at the club for a very long time, part of the side that won the Champions League all those years ago. For me, Kelleher is the most number 2 keeper you're ever going to find. I just think he's a number 2. I'm sure he'd be a great choice in the Championship, in the bottom half of the Premier League. I don't think he's a starter. I don't think he's got the physicality of a big level keeper, world-class keeper. I just don't think he's got that kind of presence about him. It's nothing against him, but I think there'll be questions about kind of Kelleher being in and around and waiting for that opportunity when Alisson goes. I think sometimes you can get a little bit of stigma around you as kind of this naturalised second choice keeper, and I think Kelleher, for me, doesn't scream Liverpool keeper, but Mamardashvili certainly does. But I do like the idea that you get some transfer activity done. You're kind of delaying the gratification of having this brand new fancy keeper, so Alisson can stay around, be the best keeper basically on the planet, and give Arne Slot that kind of continuity from Jurgen Klopp, the continuity of having, Van Dijk and Konate, Andy Robertson and Trent all ahead of him, and have that defensive unit when you can explore your midfield options, explore what's going on up front, and obviously explore more transfers. I think Liverpool certainly need more transfers going into the remainder of the transfer window. Having a keeper on loan at Valencia might appease Football Manager fans. It might appease fans that want this kind of long-term view to football, but I think Arne Slot needs a little bit more help in the short term, in the here and now, and I think Liverpool do absolutely well if they can sign a couple more players. But Mamardashvili looks like the first one. £30 million. That is not bad business in today's market for one of the best, most exciting young keepers in world football. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you very, very soon.